Bananas. Bananas, 7 fifths bananas for 88 pence in Morrison's on Friday morning. And that's why ultimately, almost 24 hours later, by the time I'd done my disastrous post-match reaction pod, a technical nightmare, my post-match reaction pod to Rangers beating Annan Athletic 5-0 in the Scottish Cup on Friday night, I was kind of relieved. I wasn't enjoying it at the time, don't get me wrong, but I was kind of relieved that the disaster, the catastrophe had hit me personally in my little podcast that you're so kind to patronise. We are poorly rewarded for your loyalty on Friday into Saturday, weren't you, when I got outside after the game. I've got gloves on for the first time in like 40 years probably going to football because my post-match reaction pods had become even poorer than usual. I was struggling to remember things that had happened in the game because the cold was really getting to me. Old man, despite these layers of polar bear type fat, the facts were evading me because my body is just so cold in these temperatures these days. So I had gloves on, but I didn't realise they had the little finger bits on them specifically so you can operate a touchscreen, because the last time I had gloves on, there was, you were barely, there didn't even have a remote control for the telly. You had to get up off your backside off the sofa and go up and actually press the buttons to turn the channel on the telly. Didn't even have a video recorder probably the last time I wore gloves to the football. So I think I'll have to take my gloves off to press record on my camera phone. I'll just rest the phone against this little windowsill that's at the back of the Broomland Road stand while I'm recording myself as I put my glove back on, and that kind of knocked out the little receiver that you have to shove into your phone so it'll work with this microphone. And I was good for the first 30 seconds, my post-match reaction pod, but it lasted 45 minutes. 30 seconds of me talking and 44 minutes, 30 seconds of as somebody said in the comments underneath. I put the excerpt up in my shorts, my YouTube shorts in this channel, a little kind of 3-minute video. Put an excerpt up, and somebody said it sounds like what the alarm, the emergency alarm that the government were testing over mobile phones. Remember during lockdown, I still use the phrase mobile phones, just showing my age, but I didn't realise it was all right. I actually could touch the screen with but that's what knocked out the microphone, and I got back home and discovered that the post-match reaction pod had been a complete waste of time. The 45 minutes I filmed outside Ibrox, I've been trying to get it down to half an hour, but I'm just so verbose. And then I come in and I had to do it again. So I had to do it again for here. And because I had to add a 50-minute explanation as to why the post-match reaction pod was getting filmed in my house and no outside Ibrox, it actually ends up being over. And I'm doing it again right now. 88 pence that morning, Friday morning, though, I have to tell you, into Morrison's to get some bananas. I get other stuff as well, but I did have little concessions to fitness, and I have muesli. Believe it or not, I have muesli for my breakfast every day of the week, and I do a little cut up banana. Sometimes the muesli's got bits of banana in it, dried up banana, but I put a little cut of wee banana into it for a bit of taste. Also, so it looks kind of like something a healthy person would do, and that then lets me feel as if I'm a health guru. And by 11 o'clock, I can go into the cans of lager and the roast chicken and the pies and stuff like that for the rest of the day. But it makes me feel there's a wee kind of concession to fitness, and I was running out of bananas. So, and I went to Morrison's Friday morning. It's all set out like a Soviet Union supermarket in kind of circa 1979, 1980s. You walk down Morrison Street, it's like trays. He's got a metal trays of fruit they have now, as opposed to the tip-top baskets on the side. It's more traditional, and it was 7 fifths bananas and the little thing saying fifths, a little kind of bandana type sticky paper thing that keeps them all together. This bunch of bananas, 88 pence. And I'm trying to fight the dark superstition. It's Annan, Alec. It's Annan Athletic in the Scottish Cup. Banannan. It's a banana skin. It's a Scottish Cup. If we get beat off Annan Athletic, a League Two, it's a banana skin, a Scottish Cup banana skin. It's actually got the name Annan Banannan skin. And of course, it's 88 pence, and the number 88, just to Rangers supporters, obviously number 88, we just associate it with the evil that is neo-Nazis and white supremacists in America, who, if you've watched Homeland and Channel 4, or you watch any kind of prison movies, they get, the Nazi lowriders and the Aryan Brotherhood, they get 88 tattooed on the inside of their arm because H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, so 88 is Heil Hitler. It stands for Heil Hitler. And then they've got shamrocks and that, the shamrock tattoos. And I'm just telling you the facts here. This is just what it is. The American kind of white supremacist gangs. They've got the Nazis, neo-Nazis. They've got their shamrocks tattooed on them, and that's the sign of being a neo-Nazi. I'm not. You actually think I'm trying to have a go at Celtic fans? To tell Celtic fans that I'm actually trying to pit off Rangers fans for becoming Nazis by telling them that it's some of the stuff you hear about you at the games. Sometimes you're a bit worrying, but not that much. I'm thinking 88. Not Celtic formed in 1888. Though sometimes they say it was 1887. Maybe played the first game in 1888, and then of course the centenary year, beautiful, romantic. Oh my God. It was so amazing what Celtic did in 1988, winning the double, and the way they won that cup final against Dundee United with the 2 late goals, done the same against Hearts in the semi-final. I think it's glory, glory. It was meant to be. It's written in the stars. God favours them. So I'm thinking, can't do that. But 7 bananas. It's because I'm thinking about what's got me a wee bit uptight. Just not my personality in general. I always kind of hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. A bit naturally pessimistic as a person, but no, usually a bit Rangers. I think Rangers are always going to be okay. And obviously what we've been through this season, the start of the season, pretty traumatic, went pretty badly, but there was a bigger undertow coming from 2012, everything that went wrong there, and just, Crystal Palace, Macclesfield, generally anybody who thinks you're definitely going to win a game. Football is just littered with people saying, oh, we're absolutely guaranteed to win this game, and that's when they don't. That's Man City getting gubbed 3-1 by Bodo Glimt tonight, but I don't think that's not exactly a shock these days. But I was just, mostly it was Queen's Park. We're in the Scottish Cup, and the last time we played in the Scottish Cup, it was Queen's Park at Ibrox, and we're supposed to do away with them quite easily, and they put us out, and it's the worst Scottish Cup defeat in our history since Berwick in 67, when they beat us over the Scottish Cup holders, but it was another 7 Scottish Cup finals, like 67 Scottish Cup final. It was Celtic beat Aberdeen 68, Dunfermline beat Hearts 69, Celtic beat us 4-0 in the Scottish Cup final. 1970, Aberdeen beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup final. 71, Celtic beat us after a replay. 72, Celtic beat Hibs in the Scottish Cup. Was Alan Gordon at 6-1, I think Celtic beat them. Alan Gordon scored the only goal for Hibs in 73. We beat them in the Centenary Cup final. Tom Forsyth scoring from like 40 yards out, the pile driver. So it's like 7 years. That means it's going to be 7 years after Queen's Park's the same thing. Another 7 Scottish Cup finals. 6 years. I'm stretching it a bit. But it's like 7 bananas, 88 pence. Fifes. I don't know what Fife's got to do with it. I had a terrible time in Fife. We get put out of the Scottish Cup by Dunfermline. That was Barry Ferguson taking over from Paul Le Guen. It was Ian Durant that was the manager, the caretaker manager, but Barry was the de facto player, caretaker manager that day. We're 3-0 down at half time. East End Park. I mean, we only lost the game 3-2 eventually, but we're at imagine the Scottish Cup at East End Park to Dunfermline. That's absolutely humiliating. So when I had the disaster with my podcast, the catastrophising, it turned out it was just me. It was just hitting me personally. Rangers were fine. Rangers were absolutely fine, and I thought, yeah, that's cool. I'll take that. So Saturday, because I had to do the podcast twice, bit of a long lie, and Saturday morning, and I get up, and it's like the Manchester Derby's on the telly. No, I was up before that, but I'm watching a bit of the Manchester Derby. Just flick through the channel. Oh, Manchester Derby's on the telly. Oh, it's we're into the second half, and I think it was about half an hour to go. But it was nothing each. The only thing I'd missed was a guy that should have been sent off for that tackle. But it was like suddenly that's the goal. I saw the 2 goals, man. You win 2-0. That happened, and I'm not a great lover or hater of either Manchester club, but so that's interesting. I've got to see all that. And I got up and I go for a lazy walk down to the pond, and there wasn't a lot of sunshine about, but it was nice, and I just feel kind of weight coming off the shoulders. And I walk up, and there's a kind of plastic pitch attached to a private school, and there's men playing hockey, 2 men's hockey teams, field hockey, on this big, what I always think looks like a great football pitch, but it's the hockey they use it for, and guys of various ages, don't know if it's private school, former pupils or university teams or just hockey league stuff, whatever, the guys of various ages and gut sizes. I'm thinking, this is just like juniors, it's just like watching, non-league football, so to speak, because I'm watching it through a fence. It's guys that are maybe in peak condition, but they're giving it their all, and they're certainly a lot fitter than me. And I only watched it for 5 or 10 minutes, but this is a wee vibe. I've had my football fill on a Friday night, but yeah, I'm watching a bit of it. Got up the road, starting into Jack Daniels with a rotisserie chicken. There's still a lot of Jack Daniels left. I had like 4 double Jack Daniels. I actually still got a bit left in the bottle, amazingly, over the course of the night. No beers or that. I had the six pack of Golden Wonder cheese and onion over the course of the late afternoon into the late evening, and watched Prey, Prey, this 2022 film. It's part of the Predator franchise, and I'm not really massively into kind of sci-fi or space stuff. I'm not massively against it either. If it's good, it's good. And this was fun. I hadn't watched a lot of the other Predator stuff. I watched the original, and I think I've seen one since then, but this was really good. And it was mostly about the kind of first Americans, Native Americans, and I think it's a prequel definitely a prequel and a kind of feminist angle as well. And it was hardly about the Predator at all, but it's really good action stuff, quite tense, good story. It really enjoyed that. That was proper kind of Saturday tea time entertainment. And then did the Harlan Coben, the Netflix. I still don't know the name of it because you don't really know the name of Harlan Coben's day. You don't know what they're called. It's a bit like James Bond movies. Die Another Day, Die Harder, Gonna Just Die. I know a Welsh James Bond. Guess what his name is? It's Jim, actually. But that kind of, and it's the same with the Harlan Coben. Stay close, go away. I can see you. You're all around. I don't really know the name of it, and it's awful, but it was the last 2.5 episodes. We got it down to 2.5 episodes, and the Harlan Coben that's on Netflix, that is the official end of the festive period. That's when you're going to get it out of your system, the last of the festive period. You don't watch until the new year. The festive period feels as if it's over, but the Harlan Coben's you just get it out the way. And I watched the last 2.5 episodes of that, and that was said. You obviously have to, you can only watch it when you're drinking. But the music, a bit of Radiohead, come on. As we get into the final couple of episodes, I mean, it's still ludicrous. It's just none of it made any sense whatsoever. It's comedy stuff. And then there was the Mazzy Star, bit of Mazzy Star as well. So I was getting transported back to, my 30s, 20s, and back to my teens almost. It was good to be a bit of music there. So that was worked out better than I thought. And then we watched. What did we watch? We watched The Rip, it's called, Netflix. The Rip. It's just one of the days where all the stuff you're getting sent, all the stuff you're getting told to watch by the platforms, the algorithms and that. We're like, aye, fine, Saturday, chill, just watch this. Because the fact that it was done, Rangers had got the result, and I just suddenly started realising I'm chilling. I'm enjoying myself. I'm feeling relaxed, and the weight was coming off, and it was the tension of that run of 7 league games, even though we'd done really well. And we only dropped 3 points in 7 straight league games. If we dropped more than 3 points in any of them, it was over. Not for Danny Röhl, but just for any chance of us contesting the title in the way other teams were falling to pieces, you could see an opportunity opening up and a chance to get back what we seem to have lost at the beginning of the season. And you're really tense about that, and you're not really enjoying Christmas and New Year properly. So it feels like this was the first time I'd actually kind of chill out. So watched the Stranger Things, first episode of Stranger Things on the Sunday, but it was still, Harlan Coben was still in there kind of dominating your psyche. It was still relaxing. It was still tail end of the festive period. We'll get into this. In the first episode of anything, you're just finding your feet again. Now, the final series of Stranger Things, series 5. So we're going to start watching that for new, and it's got a bit better quality to make up for the fact that you're not pissed as often when you're watching that. But I feel as if I'm chilling out. I'm actually relaxing, and this is because Rangers were changed competition. We're no longer like endless league games. We're going to a Scottish Cup game against lower league opposition. That brings its own problems, but we negotiated that beautifully. And we've got Ludogorets next, and that's Europe, and that's been bad this season, great in previous seasons. But we're basically out of Europe anyway. So the same amount, not the same amount of peril there. I'll try and convince you otherwise. So, but it feels like a wee holiday. It feels like a wee break, and I was just totally enjoying it. I want to just do a podcast where we just kind of mark that moment. I was wanting to do it on Monday, to be honest with you. I was wanting to do it on Monday, but it's Dolly Parton's birthday on Monday, her 80th birthday, so that was, Monday was just a write-off trip. So I'm talking to you on the Tuesday, and I'm thinking, is that too self-indulgent? You're going to do a podcast again, but somebody sent me, so the algorithm sent me a YouTube short clip of the Open Goal podcast, Cy Ferry's podcast, and I've watched plenty of episodes of Open Goal, really good stuff. And they're doing that thing, they're sitting in the round, it's in a pub, that whole pub, that's geezers were all in the pub together, they're all crammed around a table, and a kind of a sofa seat type scenario, and it's Cy Ferry and it's James McFadden. James McFadden is a really good pundit, I think. Derek Ferguson, Gordon Dalziel, I think there was one other, somebody else, have to forgive me, I can't remember who it was. And because it's Scottish Cup weekend, Cy Ferry's just sitting, he's going, right, biggest shock you were involved in, biggest shock you were on the wrong end of. And he's talking to James McFadden, and he's like, Albion Rovers. What? Albion Rovers? Hamilton. We're playing Albion Rovers at Hamilton for? Like, did you play for Hamilton? No, Albion Rovers were playing at New Douglas Park. That was our home ground. They beat Motherwell. I was playing for Motherwell at the time. And then they beat Motherwell. And obviously, James McFadden's playing the part. He just wants to do one-liners, doesn't want to get into it because it's such a traumatic memory for him. But it's like, New Douglas Park, why were Albion Rovers playing in New Douglas Park? And as Rangers supporters, maybe it's a kind of comment on us as a Rangers supporter. We had to play a Scottish Cup replay against Albion Rovers. They drew. We were lucky to draw with them at Ibrox. And we go to we go to their place, but of course Clifton Hill, beautiful venue, wacky venue. It's tremendous, Clifton Hill. I've been there quite a few times just for the sake of going to Clifton Hill, really, for lower league games that don't involve Rangers, because Rangers aren't allowed to play there, basically, because we'd bring too big a crowd. They've actually got the Aberdeen gate up in the top that folk would gather up there. It become perilous. It's no safe. And I think... I know. I mean, we played them, I think, in the Challenge Cup when we were both in the lower leagues again, and they hosted it at Livingston. The Albion Rovers hosted it at Almonville, so we know that Albion Rovers don't play bigger clubs at Clifton Hill. They have to move the game. But it was this James McFadden's got it was New Douglas Park or whatever it's called now. What? Because obviously Hamilton Accies have moved to Cumbernauld, and there's this whole thing going on, and Clyde have moved into New Douglas Park. But is it called New Douglas Park? And maybe it does have a sponsor, a new sponsor or something. But look, we get the point. Although everybody else didn't, they were still trying to deal with the fact that how come Albion Rovers, New Douglas Park? Did you play for Hamilton Accies, James? No, I'm playing for Motherwell, obviously. It's just we played them at New Douglas Park. Because of Derek Ferguson, there's a moving around the table, and he's like, "Oh, Hamilton Accies." I'm like, "What the fuck?" But Derek Ferguson's from, is it Uddingston or something like that? The Fergusons are from, Hamilton Accies is their local team anyway, and he starts talking about when Hamilton Accies beat us, put us out the Scottish Cup, Adrian Sproat, 1987, and I was there, I was at the game, I was in the East Enclosure that day, and Derek Ferguson, I wasn't playing against Hamilton that day. He says, I was injured, but because it was a gimme, it was against Hamilton, I'm thinking they were at Old Douglas Park at the time. New Douglas Park, no, Old Douglas Park would be Albion Rovers. No, it's just, they were playing, and I was away doing shopping to get a sofa from a new flat. I just got a new flat, and my dad was helping me, so I didn't bother going to sit in the stand to watch the game, because I thought it was a gimme. I thought, no bother, we're going to beat Accies. And I get back into what my dad's got a radio on, and he's like, Hamilton Accies have just scored. And he's like, what, New Douglas Park? No, Ibrox are playing Rangers, playing your team. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it sounded a bit like that. And what, New Douglas Park? Old Douglas Park? No, Old Douglas Park. He played in that's where Rangers played. Is it Gary Stevens' first goal for Rangers? It was our first victory of 9 in a row, wasn't it? At Old Douglas Park, which is just a ball here along. For New Douglas Park, they basically just moved it a bit to the side. The pictures for the back of the terracing, on the left-hand sides of the main stand, which I think is now the main stand at Beechwood for Auchinleck Talbot. They got it off Hamilton Accies, the old one. That's you can see the same buildings that you can see from New Douglas Park, which just I don't know why they bothered moving at all. Really, it wasn't really much of a move. And they go to Gordon DL, and he goes, Clifton Hill against Albion. No! New Douglas Park. Can we get past the fact you're Gordon Dale? You scored for Wraith Rovers in a League Cup final against Celtic at Ibrox. We move football matches. Sometimes it wasn't at Hampden, it was at Ibrox. We sometimes move football matches. We all know this. You all played the game. You probably did a 1 hour podcast on why it's a travesty that Auchinleck Talbot had to move to Rugby Park, despite the fact that when they played Celtic, despite the fact that Auchinleck Talbot have actually got a stand for Old Douglas, but don't mention it. I just thought, no, Alec, you're fine, you're good to go. Just your podcast isn't any worse than anybody else's picked up. So how you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg. Let's discuss all other business. I will do a separate podcast to preview Ludogorets. Hopefully it'll be nice and short. I'll get that out tomorrow night, previewing the Ludogorets game, because it's basically just going to be 30 to 45 minutes of me going, we really need to get 3 points in this game. I want to get to 4 points before we go to Porto, because there's no guarantee we're going to get in at Porto. It's always hard going to Dodragao, even though we've drawn there the last 2 times we've played, or the only 2 times we've played there in Europe. Now, the time before that we get beat, it was at DeSantis at their old stadium, but we're going to get a point there at the most, and that would only give us 2 points if we get beat off Ludogorets. And the worst anybody's ever got in the Europa League is 3 points in this 36-team format. I don't want to be sitting every season having to watch a team playing like 8 games and hoping they get beaten every game, so they'll end up having a worse record than us, because folk also already think that we've got the worst ever record in the 4-team group format of the Champions League group stage. So I don't want us doing that in the 36-team group format. It's just going to be that the whole time. Celtic have got the worst away record in Europe in the 21st century, but nobody ever mentions that. They're only going about us maybe having the worst record ever in the Champions League group stages. So let's just park all that now and catch up with all other news. I should have sent this out on Monday, but it was Dolly Parton's 80th birthday Annan Athletic Debrief pod, coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet's latest pod Sunday night. It was Colin, Rob and Ross. Really good chat about the win over Annan and the transfer business that we're doing. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm sponsored by the Queen of Country herself, Miss Dolly Parton, 80 years old on Monday. I'm coming to you on Tuesday. I should have done this pod on Monday. Give you a couple of days to then do a day or so and then do the preview pod for the Gretz game on the Wednesday. But I'm afraid Dolly takes precedence in this house. It was her 80th birthday, the Queen of Country, an absolute goddess, probably the nicest person on the planet, music star, movie star, philanthropist, and just all round fantastic human being. You know the story. You know I've been over to Dollywood, Pigeon Forge, the Smoky Mountains, and that. I've been over there the year before last, because we're all rednecks, something we're all rednecks, Rangers fans. That's a thing. I didn't realise this was a thing amongst them. But I must admit, Dolly Parton's, I love my country music, but Dolly, I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. Her music's too pure. It's too, I was over at Dollywood. It's obviously another person in this house has been to see her in concert and does like her music very much, but I can't take it. It's just like, basically when she sings, it's the voice of every auntie and every person in your family, your gran and all that loved you, that properly loved you. It's all in there with Dolly, and it's unbelievable. Dolly is actually almost 6 months younger than Blondie. Sorry, not Blondie, the group, Debbie Harry. Quite amazing thing, Debbie Harry, she turned 80 in July, just past there, and because of the new wave, you think it's punk new wave, you think the music format that Debbie Harry's famous for is younger than the country music that Dolly Parton's famous for, but Dolly Parton's actually two absolute queens, two icons who represents the America that we love, the America that we know is there. Some horrible stuff going on under that horrible regime they've got in America just now, but you think about Dolly Parton, you think about Blondie, two people that we absolutely love for all sorts of reasons. So happy 80th birthday to Dolly Parton. My name is Alec. I'm so old, I was actually there the last time Hibs won the Scottish Cup. Anderson, I see a ship in the harbour, I can and shall obey, but if it wasn't for your misfortune, I'd be a heavenly person today. And I thought I was mistaken, I thought I heard you speak. Tell me, how do I feel? Tell me now, how should I feel? My name's Alec Anderson. This is the Fat Egg Podcast, the podcast that doesn't chase likes, doesn't chase views, doesn't chase subscribers, and posts the figures that prove that. And I want to talk to you about just the fact that everything's cool. It might all go wrong so I think no matter what happens against, we're written off Ludogorets. We're written off Europe this season. We're out of Europe. A lot of fans have written it off. They don't care how many points we end up with. We're out of the competition. That's all they care about. It can only really go wrong again properly. Any bad vibes all happen on Sunday against Dundee if we slip up in that game. But it's just been a kind of wee fortnight of being able to just enjoy ourselves, chill. I just want to mark the moment. I just want to mark the occasion because we've bloody earned it. Scottish Cup. I want to do a wee podcast to cover everything that happened at Scotland, the fallout. I usually do that, and I've noticed that my podcast, my preview pods in particular, are getting far too long. The last one was 1 hour 59 minutes because I end up doing an hour of fallout from a previous game and other news, and then I'll do an hour of previewing the game I'm supposed to be previewing, and it's 2 hours. It's far too much. So I'm giving this a wee try. Also, the game being a Friday night, it's left the kind of... It's a long time to be played with. This is what Rangers need. They need 6 days between games. They need a bit of a break, especially when you get most of the reserve players out to cover it on Friday night. It's a well-earned break for our hard-working first team. But I just want to check in with you guys. See how you're getting on, especially because as the week goes on, I might not be here. I might not be able to cover a proper Ludogorets preview pods or a post-match. I'll be going to the game. I'll definitely do that, but I could be going away. I could be going down, folks. I could be spending time at His Majesty's pleasure, jury duty. I've been cited for jury duty. It's about the third time I did jury duty. I didn't go in the jury, but 10 years ago, I did that thing when I went in. I had to go. I get called in. You get the citation, and then you go. I don't know if it's because I'm Alexander Anderson. They don't go past the first folk in the first folk that are in the ledger, whatever it is. It's because I keep registering to vote, so no bother registering to vote. Maybe that's the way of getting out of it. But I get called in on that, and it went down to a ballot, and I get away with it. And you feel you get off, you come out of court like, free, I got away with it. Yes, freedom, justice. I didn't get picked for jury duty because I had stuff that I was enjoying myself, that my working on it, same as a day now, I enjoyed doing this stuff. But that was quite hard. You had to sit there and hear what the folk were getting charged with and all that, and I don't know if you're supposed to tell folk you're doing jury duty. If not, well, this is just for comic purposes. I'm not doing jury duty at all. It's not true. But then it's because it didn't get called. It seems it's like every bloody year. And I keep getting away with it. I keep doing that thing. You phone up, you don't need it tomorrow. Not needed tomorrow. Then by the end of it, like 5 days, they're like, that's you. You're not needed. Don't bother. That's you. And you think, oh, great, never have to do this again. But you have to actually go on a jury before you get like 5 years off it. So it's every year there's this kind of looming uncertainty hanging over me. So I might not be around for the rest of it. I mean, you get out in the afternoon. They do let you out for good behaviour, and I will be able to do a kind of pod, but you'll probably prefer it. Just like the folk that got in touch and said the aborted pod I did the other day, where it was like 30 seconds of me talking and then just that was my best part of the season. Thanks for that. Thanks for the support. Spartans, the only Edinburgh club left in the Scottish Cup. If Hibs, what was that, Rocky Bashirino playing in that game against Dunfermline? The ball didn't touch the back of the net. They just throw it back out the goal. Just the last day of the season, last day of the league season, last season, the goal we scored against Hibs at Easter Road didn't touch the back of the net, so they couldn't prove that it hit the net. I don't know why they didn't just throw the ball back up the park at East End Park. But Hearts, Falkirk pitting Hearts out. Spartans, the only Edinburgh club left in the Scottish Cup, and there's a kind of convoluted stat I was getting out of that. It was like Falkirk put Hearts out, Dunfermline put Hibs out, and Spartans were playing Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. So Spartans the only one of the three Edinburgh clubs to progress, But also, Spartans were the only one of the 6 clubs involved in those 3 ties that have never won the Scottish Cup before. Quite an unusual thing. I saw Spartans, the only time I saw Spartans, just to get them off the list, just to tick them off, I went along to Ainsley Park and they were beating Clachnacudden. They're beating Clachnacudden in the Scottish Cup. That's then put out Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. What is their problem? What is their beef? Everybody goes on about the old firm, the sectarian stuff. What is the anti-Invernessian thing going on at Spartans? What's their dark secret? Where'd you go to school, son? Dingwall, that's fine, you've got a job. It's absolutely sickening. Don't know what they're up to. But on Friday night, I said, don't worry about the fact that we won 5-0 in this round of last season's Scottish Cup at Ibrox unless we get Queen's Park in the next round. Are they even in it? Are they even still in it? And I've been going about Stranraer's blue socks as well. We were wearing socks that made us look like Stranraer. I think Stranraer sometimes actually wear, is it black with a blue fold at the top or black with a kind of red fold? They actually wear the red and black socks, I think, sometimes Stranraer. Am I mixing up with Irvine Meadow? I don't know, but they can look very staunch. But I had it in my head that the kit we were wearing on Friday night, by wearing the blue socks, made us look a bit Stranraerish, who have got a bit of a rivalry despite the distance with Annan Athletic. I thought it was disrespectful of Rangers. I didn't realise I was actually predicting who we're going to get in the next round. So I don't worry, unless we get Queen's Park, because we beat Fraserburgh 5-0 in the 4th round at Ibrox last season, and then with the worst result of all time in the next round, and it was Hame to Queen's Park. So don't worry about it unless we're at Hame to Queen's Park in the 5th round this season. Or Stranraer. I didn't even know Queen's Park was still on it. I hadn't checked when I was saying this on Friday night. So I didn't know they were playing each other in this round. They're playing each other right now, I think, on Tuesday night. I hope Stranraer win it, actually. Even Steve Davis didn't seem to mention it when he was doing the draw on TNT Sport, or the lassie that was doing the draw with them. She didn't seem to mention it. I don't know why Steve Davis wasn't mentioning it, but no doubt the panel mentioned it when it went back to them, but they switched off by that point in time. Just wait till the Monday. If it's Queen's Park that we get, just wait until the Monday of the 5th round, and that will be exactly 1 year to the day since the Spiders put us out last season. Stranraer are 4th in League Two just now, so they're above Annan, but Annan would go above Stranraer if they won their games in hand. So it's the same level. If Stranraer do the business, it's the same level as Annan Athletic, who have just beat 5-0 with their reserve team. Queen's Park are in the relegation spot in the Championship, but they've got games in hand over everybody that's round about them. So I think they could be mid-table if they win their games in hand. They're not having a great season, but don't judge them too harshly. It should be the Spiders we play in the next round, but then again, it should have been us who beat them last season. It would be just like the thing, if Queen's Park were to get a taste of the very medicine that we're hoping to dish out to us again at Stair Park tonight. And well done Celtic on Sunday as a as an Ayrshire Juniors fan, as a guy who had a season ticket for Winton Park or Drossen, for Drossen Winton Rovers before I had a season ticket for Ibrox, £1 it cost me, it was 1984, I was 14. I had a season ticket for Winton Park before I had a season ticket for Ibrox. I love the Winton Rovers, but we're known for dominating the juniors in quite the same way. Auchinleck, those big bullies to watch. Auchinleck just treating us like so much loose change or whatever you treat. They're just running all over the top of us all the time. Didn't bother them, didn't even notice us really, Auchinleck Talbot. Just big bullies in that playground. So it was great to see them get a taste of their own medicine in East Ayrshire as well, in their home. And as North Ayrshire boys, we're happy to see. They only get beat 2-0. They only get beat 2-0. AFCON, hardly any goals. Only one goal in AFCON. And the biggest controversy there, the Senegal against Morocco final of the African Cup of Nations, the biggest controversy there was you had 5 European final scorers on the park there. Sadio Mane, he scored for Liverpool in the 2019 Champions League final against Real Madrid in Kiev, and Liverpool get beat 3-1. Hakimi scored the opening goal of last season's Champions League final for Paris Saint-Germain. You'd Isal Zouli, who played for Morocco, he scored the opening goal, Real Betis' only goal of last season's Conference League final, and Nicholas Jackson was one of Chelsea's 4 different scorers in the second half of that final as they beat Real Betis. And El Kaabi of Morocco, he of course scored the only goal of the 2024 Conference League final when Olympiacos beat Fiorentina in AEK Athens ground. He'd scored many goals in that tournament. He was a fantastic scorer in that tournament. Was El Kaabi when Olympiacos became the only Greek side to win a European trophy. The 5 of them European final scorers, and yet they couldn't muster a goal until yawn time in the AFCON final. 4 seconds of injury time. No, that's a stupid thing. That's another joke. Do the real stuff. Lyall Cameron, news item. He's at Aberdeen. Good move for Rangers. Good move for Lyall Cameron. Hilarious. The Aberdeen fans put up the banner saying no Old Firm loanees or whatever. Not Rangers loanees. No, they're equal opportunities idiots. They were saying they don't want any. That's fine, because I wish you'd known that when you signed Liam Scales. Liam Scales, who scored against us at Pittodrie in a 2-0 win for Aberdeen when Michael Beale was in charge of Rangers. And that's it. That hurt us, and it's good. We can now reverse that. Lyall Cameron getting booed or getting a cool reception from the Aberdeen fans, becoming man of the match, just showing what a guy he is, what a character he is, why he should be a Rangers player. Lyall Cameron is definitely the character. Anyway, sets up their only goal of the game, wins the man of the match wins the man of the match award. But Aberdeen's actually, it's good. We want them to be able to perform against Celtic and perform against Hearts, help Aberdeen take points off them. But Aberdeen are so low down the league just now, they're in the bottom half of the table, having a terrible season. They're not going to be a threat to us. And of course, Lyall Cameron won't play against us when if we come up against them once or twice, maybe in the Scottish Cup. They are the holders. I thought Raith Rovers had a chance of beating Aberdeen and Sunday there, but Lyall Cameron has definitely helped. He's not getting a game at Rangers just now. I think Danny Röhl's emphasis on the physicality of his 3 new signings maybe tells a story. I think it was Colin on Jersey. It was talking about a post-match interview. That Aberdeen Raith Rovers game on Sunday, and Lyall Cameron is standing next to Nicky Devlin, Scotland's Nicky Devlin, and he looked tiny compared to him. So these big units were getting in from Belgium and Denmark are going to be even bigger. I want a 6. I would like a 6. And Aberdeen kind of vying with Hearts all the time to find out who's the third force in Scottish football. It's still a big club. It's a big club. It's a big responsibility. So it'll keep them ticking over in terms of playing for it. But I want a 6. From the intimations from Der Gaffer, we're going to have more signings coming in, not just the 3 that were revealed before the game against. The 3 that were presented before the game against Annan Athletic, and I'll be disappointed now if that's all. If we don't get at least another 3 signings in the door before the end of this transfer window, that's still got quite a few days to go. But if we can only get 1, I would like a centre half, a 6, and a striker. And I mean, this is the problem. You're a kid in a sweetie shop the minute you start thinking about it. You think, oh, but Tav, he's getting a bit older. There was talk of Tav maybe going to Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos, who sometimes as their home stadium, use the very stadium in which the Blue Cafu Tav. Well, Panathinaikos sometimes play at the Olympic Stadium in Athens, which is where the actual Cafu won his Champions League. But there's talk of Tav going, and we can see Tav's getting older, he's getting a bit slower, etc. Max Aarons isn't a good enough replacement. Things are going to get tense as the season goes on, even though we're on the downside, we're on the downslope, running out of games. The back end of the season, if Tav, maybe he's rotated a bit more, I would like to get a right back that's going to come in and probably replace Tav next season. But that's you getting fussy. We don't know what kind of signings we're going to make. We seem to be quite aggressive in this market, in this window. And if I had to just pick one position, it would be 6, because then you've got a platform, a defensive front. It gives an extra layer of defence to the centre halves, and it gives an extra. I know Dujon Sterling can come in and replace Tav, but we know Sterling's big Dujon, absolutely brilliant player, but his fitness just isn't reliable. And you would protect the defence with a 6, and also you would have that platform that lets Nico Raskin hit the byline and pull it back to Chermiti like he did for the equaliser at Parkhead. I know we've got Tochi, We Are the People, Chukwuani. No, we get Tochi, We Are the People, Chukwuani. Tochi, I got sent off for going studs in on Callum McGregor at Parkhead for Sturm Graz. Chukwuani, Tochi, the jersey feels heavy. So I was getting hit by all this stuff that he was coming out with recently. He's not done a lot. He's not been here a long time, but his pattern is absolutely sensational. Tochi, the shirt feels really heavy, and you feel that when you step out onto the park and totally coast it against an athletic Chukwuani. He's refusing to say that he's not a 6, but he knows he's going to get dug up if he says he is. But he said, I can play everywhere in midfield, but we need a 6. Give us that. If I've one signing, I'm not going to offer any names in. There's plenty of them doing the rounds, but if there's one signing we have to make, it would be a 6. One more signing. We've got 3 in the door just now, 3 big ones, and as I always say, you're making signings, any transfer window, you'll get one signing who hits the ground running, one signing who struggles, takes a bit of time to bed in, and one who's a total flop. So we've got those 3. So anybody we sign from now on is a bonus. They're going to come in and be absolutely fantastic. Danny Röhl on Premier Sport talking to Connie McLaughlin pre-match. I watched the game back. I watched most of it back. I recorded it on TNT. No, it's Premier Sport. It was Connie McLaughlin pre-match was asking Danny Röhl about making so many changes, 9 changes to that team on Friday night. We train a lot with this group. These players, they're a big part of the squad. I think you can not achieve goals with just 11 players. You need a lot of players, and for them it is also a good opportunity to find a rhythm to show they are ready. So that's quite good. We need a big squad to get through the rest of the season. These guys have got to show they're ready. After the game, Emma Dodds, Alan Hutton and Stephen Craigan were talking to Danny Röhl on the pitch side, and he was saying togetherness in the stadium after 6 wins in a row. You could feel that togetherness, but we have to be on the front foot. We can't rest. It's a long season. We have some goals. I'm assuming he means the double. For this, we have to put everything on salad and sauce. I don't think it does mean a double. It'll mean a certain amount of points we have to achieve, but for us, we have to put everything on, and that's me, salad and sauce. That's what I say when I go into the kebab shop, Cafe India, Great Western Road, no longer there, taken over by a Black Rooster. The only time I don't like chicken is a Black Rooster shop is getting rid of the best kebab shop there ever was. Coming from a Drossen, you would say everything on. In Glasgow, it's salad and sauce. We are doner kebab. It got to the point where in the queue, the guy would go through the queue going, salad and sauce, get to me. Go, everything on. And that's just, you need that ego when you don't count for anything. You need wee things like that to make you feel important in the world. But I like that. No, coming from the land of the doner kebab. No, they have Thursday. They have a day called Donner's Tag. They have a day dedicated to having doners in Germany. So it was nice to hear the manager. For this, we have to put everything on. We have to go for it. We need more goals in front. I think it meant up front. And the fringe players showed they are ready. It doesn't necessarily, anytime anybody asked them, anytime Danny Röhl was asked in that pitchside interview on Premier Sports, if we needed to get rid of more players, get more players out before we could get more in, he was kind of not prickly about it, but he was definitely trying not to engage with that. We don't necessarily have to move players out to afford to get more in, I think was the line, but some players need to move out because they're just not going to get the game time here. They need to get themselves minutes. The line I loved, at the moment we are very attractive again. At the moment we are very attractive again. That's in terms of potential incomings, a chance to win the title and win the Scottish Cup. That makes us very attractive to players who might be looking to move club, and it's a beautiful image at this time of year, transfer window time. It's maybe football players are seen as being the ones that can maybe prostituting themselves, putting their services out there, hoping they can go from contract to contract, making more money everywhere they go. But it was nice to hear Danny Röhl talking about this. I've talked about this myself before, like that run to the final in Seville 2021-2022, the back cam going across along the underside of the club deck roof, showing everybody going crazy. Every time we go a step further in that tournament, there's less and less, games being, highlight packages being shown, less and less games. Other professional footballers, they're left to just see this. Look at the madness at Ibrox. They're watching the highlights clips of the Europa League. Look at this place. I've heard good stuff about Rangers. It looks absolutely mental. I quite fancy maybe going there and becoming a hero. But I like to have Danny Röhl talking about it as if we're kind of mincing about the red lighted back streets of the transfer window demi-monde, kind of showing a bit of leg, lifting, showing a bit of thigh to the passing players and saying, you like what you see, son, you like what you see. You fancy coming at a 50,000 capacity all-seater stadium? Fancy about that? We've got 2 jumbotrons, massive jumbotrons, one in each corner. You could get right into that Sunday. You fancy a chance to win a few trophies? I'll make you a hero. I was enjoying that. 2 days off. The players got Saturday and Sunday off. So did Danny Röhl. I felt as if we all got those 2 days off as well, as I've illustrated painfully at the beginning of this pod. You have to develop players with results, he's saying on Premier Sport. And you can't just blindly impose your own ideas on the players, irrespective. You have to assess the players that you've got at your disposal and how best to use them. I don't know if that was a direct go at Russell Martin or Wilfred Nancy, but it's something I've definitely watched with Danny Röhl. He can do any tactics you want. He obviously knows the game inside out, but he also knows the main thing is what players have you got to execute those tactics. So we go 5 at the back and we punt it up to Chermiti first, and then we'll just gradually do what we can to get that 1-0 win at Easter Road, 3-1 against Kilmarnock at home, beating Livingston 2-1. It's wins, it's belief, the two things. It's almost like you've got to kind of build the aeroplane as you're flying it. That may be another way of saying it. No, okay. There's no specifics about new signings, he was saying. And in the presser, the post-match presser in the Bills of Ibrox, he was saying there's some good performances tonight and not more. Which I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding what he meant there, but it sounded like he was dialing down the fact that how well he thought the reserve team player, the second choice players, the squad players had performed against Annan. For us, it's important to recover for the next big game. So no specifics. So they've done that. It's let the first team players get a break. There's no specifics about new signings or outgoings, but he wants more players in. He made that clear. He wants more players in. Some more players might have to go out to get. And he says something about the number of games. February onwards is going to mean there's less chance to rotate the squad. So basically, we're going out of Europe. We've got 2 games in the Europa League group stage this month, and then that's it. Then it's just Scottish Cup and the league till the end of the season, depending on how far we go in the Scottish Cup. So I think what he's saying is, like, Lyall CamerDon has to go to Aberdeen because there's less need for us now. We're not having midweek games all the time. Less need for us to give Nico Raskin or Connor Barron or Diamandi a break, especially now we've got Chuck Ruani in there. And a beautiful thing he said was there was a big statement in Aberdeen. The last league game we played in Pittodrie, we won 2-0 a week back on Sunday. In the dressing room, big statement in the dressing room, there's a belief and a trust in each other that was great to see. And it was great to hear that as well. There was a supporter, he was saying in Premier Sport, that a supporter had told him before the game that he'd brought the pride back to the club, or the team had brought the pride back to the club, and that's great, but we have a responsibility now, and this is what he's doing. I think he's kind of clearly marking, he's stamping the positives. He's saying we are getting better. To give belief, because it gets the crowd in. We saw the crowd at the game on Friday. I thought it was great. I just noticed the MTCs, but everybody else is saying it was a great crowd. Because supporters want it to be a feel-good factor. There definitely is. And if you can just make the players themselves feel that something is happening, then they will gel together as a team. But then he goes straight into, he always undercuts it. Not undermining it, but he just dials it back a bit so it doesn't sound like cockiness. It can't become cockiness. And it's good. I could be really horrible. Not horrible. It'd be a cheap. It'd be unfair as well. Who knows what that supporter actually said to him, how he worded it, and what the fella actually meant by what he said. I was at an AGM, a Rangers AGM once, and there was questions for for the board, and somebody had said a real complaint. It was something that was a proper complaint about something. I can't remember what it was, but he ended it by saying it's making me feel ashamed to be a Rangers supporter. And I knew what the guy meant. He probably did not mean that. And then everybody then who asked a question after that would end their question with, and by the way, I've never felt ashamed to be a Rangers supporter, and the place would go crazy. So I'm not doing that to this guy, this unknown, unnamed supporter who was talking to Danny Röhl on Friday, but I think it's something that bears saying. I've always been proud to support Rangers. And when we're playing crap, the crapper we are, the more proud I am to support our team. I think it's a dangerous precedent to this thing. It's been happening too much and it's going too far in recent years. Like, I hate Rangers when they're bad, and I love them when they're great. There's no in between. It doesn't make sense. You can't form love when you just abandon your team so easily. But that's just a point that I'm going to make a bit more later on. My snagging list is absolutely huge from my post-match reaction point. I made so many mistakes. The worst being, I said it was Clinton Inciala who got tripped up for the penalty we scored against Annan. It was Rabbi Matondo, so that just sounds basically racist on my part. Also, squad numberist as well, because they both wear big, massive numbers in the back of their shirt. That I have said, in my defence, I have said my prescription for these glasses is a bit ropey. I do need to go to Specsavers. I've literally had an email from Specsavers telling me my eye test is overdue, and I was walking along the roads just this week in my street, and there's somebody getting work done, I think an extension built or something. And I thought one of the guys, a lot of workmen coming and going, obviously, and I thought one of the guys is sitting there having his lunch, because it was a nice day, the sun was out. One of the guys sitting there having his lunch, and it was a big. I thought he was wearing like a high-vis jacket and that, and he was kind of just sitting leaning forward up. It was a big yellow bag of gravel chips to obviously go in the new driveway or whatever they were building, and the chips were just kind of were spilling out a bit. They'd fallen over a bit, and out this, but it wasn't even a human being. So if that's any consolation, Blue Monday, supposed to be Blue Monday yesterday. That was the whole thing. Blue Monday, it's the most depressing day, but I think maybe because we love blue, maybe that counteracts it. But I think everything's so nice at Rangers just now. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out, the sun was shining. There was nothing blue about it. I just did not know that Majowski had never scored a hat-trick before when I'm watching him score his first career hat-trick. It was Colin that mentioned it on Jersey Night and Sunday night, and then as I was catching up with it, I kept watching the live coverage in instalments, and this get mentioned on Premier Sports as well. I don't know if I really like Majowski. I don't know if I'd have been so keen for him to come to Ibrox if I'd heard that he'd never scored a career hat-trick before, but that was quite a thing for him. The socks, right, this is us getting into it now. I didn't know there's a thin red line across the socks until I saw some close-ups and that on the TV coverage. I was talking about how they just looked, blue socks with a white fold should be more Rangers but it isn't. It just made us look like, Leicester or the Brazil away kit, or maybe even Japan, who Scotland just announced they're going to be playing at Hampden. I was impressed, but I thought there's a wee thin red line across the white of the fold, thin red line, the Terence Malick film were based on that book about the campaign. The Battle of Balaclava, is it Gibson did the painting? But that was nice. Kieran Dill's header I thought was a big kind of loopy, strange one, 1970s style kind of slow mo, more a bit like 1986 style with Dave McKinnon. The 4-each game with Celtic at Ibrox, when we go 3-1 down, Willie McStay gets sent off and we score 3 goals in a row. I was at the games in the front of the governor. I've told you that many a boring story about that game. But the moment we go 4-3 up, it's Dave McKinnon. Pat Bonner punches a ball out to the corner of the box, far corner of the box, and Dave McKinnon, he nods it up into the air, way over everybody, and it's just going right down into the top corner. But Cammy Fraser comes in and jumps up and kind of heads it over the line when there's almost no need, but you got to make sure. So he gets the goal. I thought that's what Kieran Dill's header against Annan looked like. It was kind of weird, but it was good, and he played really well, Kieran Dill. But I watched it back in the telly. It's bloody brilliant. It's not a backward header it's a backward. He's facing away for goal. He's facing his own goals, basically, and it came at him pretty fast. The cross from Joe Rothwell was kind of fired at him, and to just turn and convert it and just put that height on it to get it away for the goalkeeper, basically into the same spot that Thelo Asgard's renowned, now world famous free kick went into. I thought it was a really good header. It's not quite up there with Jared Borghetti for Mexico against Italy in Owita in 2002 in the World Cup final. There's no Borghetti when the ball comes to him. He's got to judge again, he's facing his own goals and he's heading it towards his own goals, knowing that momentum of the ball combined with his direction is going to spin the ball back behind him and just loop into the top corner. It's a phenomenal goal, probably the best header, most cultured header I've ever seen from a striker. But it wasn't quite up there with that, but it's a really good goal. Kieran Dowell scored that goal against Livingston when he first came to Rangers. It was against Livingston in the league. It was under Michael Beale. Rifled it in. I think we won 3-0 or 4-0. This was the last goal of the game. And he fires it from the edge of the box right into the opposite top corner. It's a cracking goal. And then against Motherwell, Christmas Eve 2023, we beat Motherwell 2-0. And him and Dow and Todd Cantwell, they both scored in like the first quarter of an hour. And we won 2-0. That was it. We didn't get another goal for the rest of the game. It was a terrible game, but the first goal was after about 2 minutes, and it was Kieran Dowell. That's really strange shot. I think it get kind of snuffed out by a Motherwell player, so it span up into the air and it looped high and come down into the back of the net like the goal the guy Ritchie scores against us in the 1978 Scottish Cup final, but a bit like the goal Ian Ferguson scores against CSKA Moscow in Bochum in the first ever Champions League group stage. The first goal scored by a Scotsman, the first ever goal scored in the Champions League proper by on German soil. It was a Scots. This is the first ever European Cup goal was scored on German soil. Was scored by a Scotsman. That's a wee stat for you there. One I discovered myself. But it was like, so he scores this fantastic goal against Livingston. Kieran Dowell. He scores a really weird goal against Motherwell, and then for what will probably be his last goal for Rangers, he scored a weird, fantastic goal. A combination of the two against Annan Athletic. The crowd. 37,528. As I say, I thought it was. I just look at the empty spaces. Maybe I'm a bit fundamentalist in that sense. And I started going to see Rangers in the days where we could barely get 10,000 sometimes. So I don't know what was. I seem to be the only person in the 15 different Rangers pods I've listened to since Friday. I'm the only person who didn't remark on the fact it was a great crowd. I say it was a great atmosphere because they'd seen the new signings, but it's a great crowd. It's a feel-good factor. That's what I'm trying to kind of talk about just now. And one last small tiny thing I have to talk about was the 4 seconds. Talk about the 4 seconds injury time. The referee gave 4 seconds of injury time at the end of the. I noticed that at the time, but I kind of forgot about it. There was 9 substitutions in the second half against Annan. Now I know some of them were multiple substitutions, but 9 substitutions. I know it's at the referee's discretion, but it's a referee who was making Annan retake centre 15 times until everybody got it absolutely right. It was very fastidious, pedantic, and he suddenly decides that there's only 4 seconds. Is that because we were 5-0 up? Well, what if the Scottish Cup goes to goal difference? Because Celtic they'll definitely be looking to change the rules. Although we'd be ahead of them, wouldn't we? Because we've scored 3 goals more than they've scored already. But it's when Celtic are struggling, they try and mess about with something in the format of the season. But what if Annan had pulled one back? What if Annan, they nearly scored the last kick of normal time? Nearly put one in the top corner. If they pull one back, and then they get another quick one, they could end up turning it, because they get an extra 30 seconds added on for every goal they score. With the celebrations, they could have ended up taking that to extra time. That game, I felt it was really weird. And Annan's kit, I was saying, on Friday night, it's like Auchinleck Talbot. They're playing like an Auchinleck Talbot kit. But someone was watching the telly. Was it a mid-range shot, or whatever the camera? I don't know what you call it. I don't know the director speak. But there's a kind of close-up of the Annan walls that's setting up to not defend Thelo Asgard's free kick. Indefensible. It's that free kick. No goalkeeper's going to save it. No wall's going to stop it. And I also said that I couldn't remember whether it was a free kick or from open play. I don't know where my head was on Friday at all. I think it's just freezing. But you can see a brilliant contrast between the Annan kit and their own supporters. The wall of Annan supporters. What a support they had with them. Just over 1,000 folk. Absolutely brilliant. And you can see the contrast between what is their home kit, the players are wearing, and the colours that the Annan supporters wear. I know this is a common thing in football, like Hanover supporters or Hamburg or HSV. Sometimes the kit looks completely different to the colours. There's a wee kind of weird thing going on sometimes with the colours of the club and the colours that the kit is. But you can see it's yellow and black. It's like that Ali McCoist ident advert that you get in the TNT coverage these days of the Champions League and all that. Is it Caraway or something? Some sort of car hire firm, and he's pretending to be in a crowd of folk, and it's They're all wearing orange, yellow and black, very, very definite yellow and black. That's what the Annan supporters actually look like. But the contrast with the kit their team is wearing, it's black stripes. But it's no, I'm always talking about how the juniors teams, non-league teams, smaller teams from East Fife down to Kilburney Side and Auchinleck and that kind of thing, it's that sepia tinted kind of thing. It's a classic Scottish colour of kit. This is no colour. I don't know, the black stripes, but the other colour, it wasn't yellow. It was like a kind of toffee that had been pulled really taut and was kind of translucent. It was like kind of dull brass. It's kind of leather colour. I've never seen a colour like it. And it was really impressive. So I was wrong. It wasn't anything like Auchinleck Talbot's kit. Do you get your ticket? Do you get your email ticket with the QR code? That's the second one in a row. We got this email QR, knowing the smart card for the Scottish Cup, knowing the smart card for Ludogorets. Ludogorets Razgrad 1945. Rangers v Ludogorets Razgrad 1945. That's what it says on the email. So, but that's their name. The Ludogorets, they were formed in 1945, the year 1945. Ludogorets Razgrad. You're thinking 7:45 kickoff. Ludogorets Rangers v Ludogorets Razgrad 1945. That's what it says in the email. Enclosing the QR code that you've got to download. But the worst that will happen there is you'll turn up quarter of an hour early on Thursday, 8 o'clock kick-off on Thursday against Ludogorets. But you could go along, 1945, better go along there for 7:45. Annan were formed in 1942. Maybe they did say but there's no in their name. If they were called Annan Athletic 1942, I might have turned up. That was kick-off. It's just after 22. 28 instead of quarter. I would have turned up just early enough, just the 3 minutes earlier, and I would have got to see Andreas Skov Olsen being revealed. As I said, I didn't know to the end of the game that he'd actually signed for us because I missed the reveal. I get in just in time for kick-off. It's the only time a Rangers player is actually, in the last 20 years, has been unveiled, like in the flesh. I don't mean naked and that, but they actually, all the talk about Skov Olsen, he's going to come, he's going to arrive, we're going to get him, and they unveiled him on the park before the game. Absolutely brilliant, like pole dancing version of signing a player, presenting a player, and I wasn't there, but there's all these wee Waynes that had gone for their first game, haven't been going. They get to see it, and I don't get to see it. It's a Denmark thing. I wasn't at the Scotland-Denmark game where we won 4-2 there to qualify for the first World Cup. We rarely qualify for a World Cup at Hampden, and two of the goals we scored were like absolute worldies. Sensational night. But I'm at the game last time, the last World Cup qualifying campaign, we beat them 2-0 with John Suter header for a corner is one of the goals, and that's to put us into playoffs. Denmark had already won the group, and we get beat off Ukraine in the playoffs, the first of the semi-finals. So it's something about Danes. I just don't get to see them properly. But Skov Olsen is a different profile, says Danny Röhl, meaning he plays on the right-hand side, but uses his left foot. And the three signings are physically imposing. Danny Röhl talking up the physicality of Chukwueze, Olsen, and Tur Romans. It's going to change us in attack. It's going to give Gassama a wee break, I would imagine, and he can in turn give Mikey Moore a break because the two of them can play in the left. We've got three class players up in the wide positions now, or either side of the striker. Daniel said in his post-match press that the new signings are good, but we have to do more, not less. We have to work at it. We have to get these guys bedded in, but also let's not start getting cocky because we're making good signings on top of a good run in the league. The Skov Olsen interview post-match in the press room at Ibrox, where he's got his jacket on and his big scarf on his shoulders. Rangers are the biggest club in Scotland. I wanted to come here as soon as I knew Rangers were interested in me for a fourth time in 6 years. Brian Laudrup. That's what I heard. He feels he's got more levels to go through. He just wants to get better, which makes me think he's broken. He's snapped. We've got a guy with an injury. He hopes to contribute with goals. It's hope for the best, but plan for the worst. He hopes to contribute with goals and assists, and he started talking about what he likes to do. It was kind of casual. And I just like to shoot with my left foot, shoot with my right foot, cut inside. I can hit free kicks. I like to hit the byline and pull it back. I like to cross for the wing. But just absolutely everything. He's a goals and assists machine. Basically, he wants to win trophies, but one game at a time. I want to win trophies, but one game at a time. That's right in there with the Danny Röhl mindset. Blah blah blah, etc. etc. He was just saying the usual stuff. When asked if he wanted us to take up the option to buy him at the end of the season, definitely. Just one word answer. Is it a one word answer because he's so sure? Or it was hard to tell. It might have been, definitely. Let's just move on. There's absolutely no way I'm staying in this Mickey Mouse League. I might go back to the Bundesliga. proper fit. But I mean, Harry Kane plays in the Bundesliga. Come on, Jake, I want to play here. So I don't know what that was. It sounded like he was quite up for it, though. I mean, he can't wait to feel the pressure of proving every year that we are the best team in Scotland. Basically, his interview in the press room, Andreas Skov Olsen went from cliches and telling us what we wanted to hear to me hearing what I needed to hear, to me getting up out of my chair and shouting at the TV screen, and singing the sash, smoking the hash, and walking in Skov Olsen Wonderland. Another reason people can't be bothered with the Ludogorets game, because he can't play in that. He's not in the European squad. We want to see the new signings. Get to Dundee. Dundee game on Sunday is going to be rammed. It's going to be really cold and empty on Thursday night. But we are at hubris stage 1. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. No, don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves as a support. Some of us will be, because we have fans who want to get ahead of themselves, because that lets them get angry when we don't win stuff. But we're getting ready. I think that I think we're confident just now without being in any way cocky. I think we're very encouraged as a support. There's just a positive, kind of optimistic feeling at Rangers just now in the fans. We need to start properly getting behind the team. This, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is what I was talking about in June when the 49ers takeover was confirmed. I wasn't out in the streets celebrating, excited. I was long term. This will work, for real. Not even excited so much as just permanently, monumentally relieved, knowing that the job had been done. This is us. We'd get back to square one, really, in terms of stability, in terms of hitting that base we need to be at to be Rangers properly, to be winning the trophies that we need to be winning. And I was feeling so grateful to the previous board, who were just getting slagged rotten the whole time. They tried to scrape together whatever they could do with the lack of funds they had, just to make us buyable. I've been saying far too often, I'm sorry for this, but the point remains true nevertheless. It was going to take us a generation. It was going to take us till 2032 to recover properly from 2012 under our own steam. The only thing that was going to expedite that was if we got major third-party investment, i.e. a takeover. It was, oh my God, is it going to be Saudi money? No, it was the best option. It was American money. And don't worry, that'll come under scrutiny as well as we get closer and closer. One of the things you'll find with Rangers, kids who don't remember this, you'll start finding that everybody comes to suddenly problems they haven't in any way expressed at the start of the season, when they thought Rangers were crap and were no threat to the league title. The closer we get to winning league titles and stuff like that, you will find that there's all sorts of moral problems with the way Rangers are doing things that half of Britain are doing. I mean, being bought by money-crazed Americans certainly will only be a problem for Rangers. But I was just feeling it was job done in the summer. I just wanted to kind of sit and take it in, just drink it in. It just felt like relief. It was so hard to get there. It wasn't for me about performatively celebrating a takeover, feeling that we had a really good chance of winning this season's title. It was about having almost kind of zero doubt that we were about to win many titles over the next few years, and having even less doubt that people in our support and around our support, not many, that a lot of people who had enjoyed Rangers being smaller because it made them bigger, it made their particular brand of kind of negativity about life in general, they could express it through Rangers' failings around Rangers. It was given credibility by Rangers failing their kind of negative worldview. I knew these people wouldn't just shut up overnight without a fight. They would need to know that their voices still had some influence with these new owners, the way they had with the old board, who would just try to keep us all on board. No pun intended. The old board would just chop and change when they had to. So thank God for Russell Martin. Thank God he came along and drew at Motherwell and drew at St Mirren, teams who'd won at Ibrox in their last games against us in the league. Drew at Falkirk, who Danny Röhl drew. Thank God Russell Martin took that pounding in Bruges after he'd annoyingly won his must-win game against Panathinaikos. It's a must-win game, Russell, must-win game. Oh shit, he's won it. No, all right, we'll get Pilsen coming up, they'll tank. Oh no, he's beat them as well. Oh, thank God, he's completely collapsed against Club Bruges, who beat Kairat Almaty 4-1 tonight, Tuesday night, in the Champions League group stage. The two clubs, the clubs that put out the Old Firm in the playoff round of the Champions League this season. Well, The one that humped us has just humped the one that Celtic beat on penalties. I think the fact that the Kazakh season has been over for months, and they've only played a couple of warm-up games, that's got nothing to do with it. That's nothing to do with it. It was one last flex for the negatives. The 49ers are now, they're okay to carry. They can carry on. We've got rid of it. I mean, Russell Martin got rid of himself. And there was no way the 49ers, I said this in June, there was no way the 49ers they're going to be more vicious about making Rangers great again than we are. But it let a lot of folk they feel as if they got Russell Martin sacked, they got Patrick Stewart sacked, they got Kevin Thelwell sacked. These guys were going out the door anyway, but now it feels like we can all proceed together. Bit cynical, yeah, but that's how I've been feeling all season. It was always going to happen. It was never going to be smooth. And I just feel as if it was one last kind of flex from the everything shite and the losers crowd. What we feel right now, I think, at this point in the season is enjoyable as something we've felt so often since coming back into the top flight. And we've only won the title once since we come back into the top flight in 2016. So I wanted to test it. It's a theory I keep talking. It's this feeling I have that Rangers they get to a position round about New Year, usually beat Celtic or have a good result against Celtic. Not always, but when we do, we go into the winter break and a bit of a high, having the momentum. And then the first game back, probably made a few signings as well at the start of the winter break to make us feel even better. But then first game back, it's a lower league opponent in the Scottish Cup, and we don't really thrash them. It doesn't go according to plan. And I think, what are we panicking about? It doesn't matter. The players can't raise themselves for these kind of games, no-win kind of games, but it bleeds into our next league performance, and before we know it, the league's gone by middle of March. And I keep saying, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe I'm exaggerating that. So let's just test it out. The years since we've come back into top flight, I sat down and had a wee look at it. 2016-17, our first season back in the top flight, there was a winter break. We won 4 straight games in December. We drew at St Johnstone the 28th of December. We lost 2-1 at home to Celtic and Hogmanay. And the next game we play after the winter break is a 2-1 win against Motherwell. I mean, Motherwell are a top flight side. But we beat Motherwell at home in the Scottish Cup. But we were a goal down with 6 minutes to go, and Kenny Miller scores a quick brace. We then play Motherwell in the league at Fir Park. We beat them, and then we lose 4-1 at Tynecastle, and that's it. Mark Warburton gets sacked. So, not a lower league team, but there was a winter break, and we did perform kind of very poorly in my first game back, or very not convincingly in my first game back, and Warburton sacked like 2 games later. 2017-18 season, there is a winter break. Graham Murty's in charge at this point in time. We end a kind of 4-game winning streak with a 3-1 loss at home to St Johnstone, followed by a 2-1 loss at Rugby Park. It's a Saturday afternoon, Saturday lunchtime game, wasn't it? It was live on the telly. That was if Graham Murty's wearing the blazer on the tie. 23rd of December, that was. We beat Motherwell at Ibrox on the 27th, then we draw 0-0 at Parkhead on the 30th of December, the effective New Year game. So, the first game back, I remember expecting it to get hammered at Parkhead. Didn't need to wait too long until we did. Our first Scottish Cup game back after the winter break was Fraserburgh against a Highland League team in the Highlands, and it got postponed because of the weather. So, our actual first game back was a 2-0 home win over Aberdeen in the league. We eventually played the game against Fraserburgh. Josh Windass hat-trick, only won 3-0, wasn't very impressive. And, well, there was people locked out outside that had tickets because there was a lot of fake tickets doing the rounds as well. We know how that season ended. Celtic beating us 4-0 in the Scottish Cup semi-final, and a fortnight later beating us 5-0 at Parkhead as they claimed the league. It was horrible. Winter break, unconvincing Scottish Cup game in the way back from the winter break, and it was just horrific. 2018-19, there is a winter break. Stephen Gerrard signs off his first half season with Rangers with a 1-0 win over Celtic. Ryan Jack getting only go our first at Ibrox. Our first Old Firm win for 2.5 years, our first in the league for 6.5 years, and it was all systems go. It felt absolutely great. And the start back was, again, Scottish Cup. After the winter break, it was away to Cowdenbeath, Central Park Cowdenbeath, and it gets postponed again because of the weather. So instead, we start back with a league game at Rugby Park midweek, which we lose. We lose 2-1, and we only beat Cowdenbeath 3-1. We put Kilmarnock out the Scottish Cup after a replay, but then Aberdeen put us out the Scottish Cup after a replay, and we lose the league quite comfortably. 2019-20, I think this is the classic example, the one that really puts it in my head, this theory that there's a pattern. Again, it's a winter break. We sign off with a 2-1 win at Parkhead. Stevie G in camera slapping form after the game. Fantastic win. First win at Parkhead for Rangers against Celtic for ages. We the first game back. Again, this is great. But definitely the Rangers are coming. Scottish Cup, 17th of January. Stranraer at Ibrox. We only win 2-0. We only win 2-0, and again, it's the beginning of the end. We lose the league by 13 points. We beat St Mirren 1-0 at Ibrox in the first league game back after the winter break, but then we lose the next one at a kind of relegation-bound Hearts, and then we lose at home to Hamilton. We actually thought Stephen Gerrard there was a chance he was going to get sacked. That was horrendous. 2020, 2021, no winter break. The Scottish Cup doesn't begin until April. When the Scottish Cup does begin in April, we beat Cove Rangers 4-0. The draw for the next round was made before the game. It was a Sunday kick-off, one of the last kick-offs in that round of the Scottish Cup, and we knew the winner was going to get Celtic in the next round at home, and we wanted them so badly. We just scalped Cove Rangers super professionally. The COVID season, that's why the Scottish Cup didn't start until April. No winter break, and we win the league in record-breaking style. We only concede 13 goals. We don't lose a single game. This is what proves my theory. There's no winter break, and their first game, even though it was delayed till April, our first game in the Scottish Cup, surely even though we beat Celtic in the next round as well, the Scottish Cup, and it really embarrassing against St Johnstone, but we cruised to the league title. 2021, 2022, winter break is back. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is now the manager. And we don't win the league. So is that proving the point? But what's the first game back after the winter break? What's a Scottish Cup 4-0 home win over Stirling Albion in the Scottish Cup? I think that was a Friday. I think that was a Friday as well. And we win the Scottish Cup, though. Is it? That's because we win the Scottish Cup and we only concede one goal. Beat Annan 3-0, beat Dundee 3-0 at Dens, beat Celtic in the semi-final, beat Hearts 2-0 in the final. But we don't win the league. The first league game after the breaks, we draw 1 each at Pittodrie, dropping points straight away. I think we beat Livingston 1-0 at home, but then that calamitous 3 each way. Ross County at Dingwall, and then we lose 3-0 to Postecoglou's Celtic at Parkhead, and only Postecoglou's second Old Firm derby. We're 3-0 down at half time. A nightmare. So you got that. We did have a comfortable win over non-league opposition in our first game back after the winter break, but we win the Scottish Cup and we get to a European final. But we don't win the league. 2022, 2023, there's a World Cup break. It's mid-November to mid-December. It's a winter break. It's a break in the winter. And we'd signed off with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst in charge, and we started back up with Michael Beale in charge. So there's new manager bounce under Beale when we restart, and the Scottish Cup doesn't start until a month later. And we win 1-0 at St Johnstone, that Borna Barisic goal, only goal of the game. Bit of revenge for 2 seasons earlier, but we lose to Celtic in the semi-final, and we lose the league by 7 points. 2023, 2024, there's a winter break. We sign off with a 3-1 win over Kilmarnock. A 2-1 loss at Parkhead in the kind of New Year, typical closest to New Year's Day game, or was the Kilmarnock game closest to? Anyway, we lose 2-1 at Parkhead, and that's the first loss for Philippe Clement, who's been manager since October. He's won the League Cup, and it's in December. He's won the League Cup, and he's won our first game against Spanish opposition in Spain by beating Real Betis in Europa League. We're through to the last 16 of the Europa League, but he loses to Celtic, but he immediately replies to that by the last game before the winter break. We beat Kilmarnock 3-1, and there's a fantastic finish by Abdallah Sima. We look really good, and when we come back, we eventually claw our way to the top of the league. By kind of February and into March, we're still up there. But the first game back after that winter break is a 4-1 Scottish Cup win at Dumbarton. So this is all going against my wee theory, but we end up, we have a collapse in terms of the league, and we lose the Old Firm Scottish Cup final by giving away a last-minute goal, a calamitous goal for us to lose. But if we win, this is defeating the theory of goal, because we've beaten a lower league side 4-1 in our first in the Scottish Cup game. That's the first game back after the break, but we played Dumbarton. It was miserable conditions. The camera kept getting covered in rain. I was watching it live on the telly. There was only one stand there, so it's horrible to watch. Really depressing. I don't know if that's got something to do with it, but anyway. There's a winter break and we don't win the league. 2024, 2025, no winter break, and we still didn't win the league. So we chucked the league in Boxing Day, losing 2-1 at St Mirren, and in the 29th, drawing 2 each at Fir Park. We pumped Celtic on the January the 2nd, but we've almost done too much damage to ourselves, and then proceed to draw Easter Road and Dens Park. We win our next 5 in the league, and we secure a Europa League last 16 spot again for the second season in the trot. We're going to Old Trafford now. We're beating Union St Gilloise at home. And then their first Scottish Cup game was a 5-0 win over Fraserburgh, but over terrible. I've never been angrier in a game than I was at half time in that game. We're only winning 1-0 at half time against a Highland League side. Nobody else on the park or off it seemed particularly bothered. I was raging. And then that all kind of came home to roost on the 9th of February when Queen's Park inflicted our worst ever Scottish Cup defeat upon us, and we lost the league by 17 points. Clement sacked, Barry brought in. So this season there is no winter break, but we've got 2 games in different competitions. This playing a Scottish Cup game and a Europa League game after that run in the league. I think that offered a 2-week kind of physical break. And the 3 new signings are offering a kind of psychological break. We feel refreshed. I think the game against Annan was a kind of party, a chillaxing session. We were kind of reviving ourselves, chilling out, and just getting ourselves ready, enjoying that feeling of everything going nicely for Rangers. It really has been. It's been really nice. And I think you look at Celtic, Martin O'Neill, 73-year-old, temporary manager, who's already having to be so much more than a head coach. He's having to fight fires already, as there's no signings for Celtic so far. They will make signings, and there's gaps in their board, and the fans are at war with the club. Hearts look good, but are, despite the fact that a very storied club, Hearts, they're newer to this situation than even ourselves. Shankland and Devlin now injured. Shankland out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's big blows for them. But Hearts have only got 16 games to go this season. They're out the Scottish Cup. They are out of Europe. They were never in Europe this season. They've only got 16 league games left. So have we. We've got 16 league games left, but we've still got 2 European games. The Scottish Cup, though, we've really only got 2 difficult games to add to the 16 league games that we have to play. So we shouldn't have any, despite what happened last season, there shouldn't be any problems whether it's Queen's Park or Stranraer that we're playing in the next round. So if we go all the way in the Scottish Cup, well, the final is after the last league game of the season. So we don't have to worry about that just now. When it comes to winning the league, we're only going to get to a quarter-final and a semi-final as the 2 kind of difficult games we can have between now and the end of the season. So kind of 21 games. It's a 21-game season max for Rangers if we get to the Scottish Cup. 20 games till the title race is over officially. So I think 19. We've got 19 proper games, I would say, between now and the end of the season. It's 3 more than Hearts, but we're a bit more used to going the distance. I think our squad's getting stronger. We are the form team. I still think Celtic are favourites. I just feel as if they've been over the distance. They only have to make a couple of signings to improve themselves, particularly a striker. I think we saw in the first half, the game at Parkhead was both, for the Old Firm game at Parkhead on the 3rd of January was both encouraging for us and I think worrying for us, because Celtic was so good. That was a proper old school Celtic team. That was just the usual Celtic. You get to Parkhead, they just come at you all guns blazing. After the first few minutes, we had them in the back foot. They went at us, and they should have scored 3 or 4 goals in that first half. If you want to say that, if we're doing the shoulda, coulda, woulda stuff, but it was so encouraging because in the second half it didn't phase us, it didn't bother us. We just adjusted it in the second half and blew them away. Under Martin O'Neill, they're going to kind of spread that about a bit more. I would say they're going to be not as open in the first half, but in no way as easy in the second half of any kind of Old Firm game. He'll deal smarty to feed all, but I think it showed that Celtic have the ability to just blow teams away still. They just need to make a few signings. So I'm not in any way saying this is going to be... I think Danny Röhl's absolutely right to say that it'll go to the last day of the season. I think it's only going to go to the last day of the season if we win it. And it's still more likely. The undertow of how our season began, everything since 2012, the usual stuff. We're just no used to winning the league title as often as Celtic did. It's 1 out of the last 14 that we have won. Celtic have won the other 13. So they're the guys that know how to do it just now. There's still going to have to be some twists and turns, but the more signings we get in, I think the better it will help us. And Last week, I went to Morrison's twice last week, I would say, which is, I usually go 3 or 4 times, but I went on the Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday or the Monday, just after the game against Aberdeen, and I was feeling really relieved and great about that. Oh, fantastic, that's us, we've done that. One of 7 league games, we only dropped 3 points, fantastic. One at Parkhead, one at Pittodrie, this is great stuff. General feeling of calm. I just wanted to go to a walk. I just using a trip to Morrison's. I needed a few wee things, a few wee items. So I was just going to walk to Morrison's. I wasn't taking the car, and I thought, you grab a bag for life. Get in the cupboard. I don't know if you're the same as me. You have a wee bit of a cupboard under the stairs we've got, and in it there's a bag of bags. So I grabbed this bag just because I'm busting out my jacket these days. After the always morbidly obese, but after Christmas and New Year particularly bad, so there's hardly any room to get like a proper big bag for life. Would be struggling to fit in my pocket because my pockets are like flattened by my beer gut pressing against the zip of the jacket. So this gets a wee kind of bag for life because I'm only going for a few items. Turns out it's a Sainsbury's bag. I get into Morrison's and I turned this bag I'd grabbed. It was a Sainsbury's bag, but it's a kind of, what's it called? I had it up there to remind me. I had it behind me in the podcast here for a couple of pods to remind me to talk about it. Is it what was it? There's a word for it anyway. A reusable, some sort of reusable bag, reliable bag, Relia bag. They call it Relia bag. And it's got elephants on it, and it's saying, I am small, but I'm sturdy, 30% recycled, you can use me for... And I thought, that's good, it's just a wee bag as far as I'm concerned. I'd never seen it before. Turned out as my wife had got it, it was our pal getting the Christmas presents, giving us Christmas presents. That way you got a few Christmas presents, you just put them all together, when you're handing them into somebody, hand them off to somebody, and she'd put them in this, because I'm thinking, who... Sainsbury's bag. When do we ever buy enough shopping at Sainsbury's that it merits a bag? Because it's not a bit expensive, Sainsbury's, and it's you got to walk. It's further away from where we are. It's a 30-minute walk to nearest Sainsbury's. Turned out it's my wife's pal. That's Diane's bag. You better get back. You better do me using that. But I made a mistake. I picked the wrong bag out the cupboard. So I get into Morrison's. Just going to get a few things. Just a few tins of soup and a bit of cereal, and bang! I just see it straight away. There's impulse buy. It's a cottage pie for 2. Cottage pie just looks absolutely gorgeous. Winter food. I need that. I'm having that. Got a few other things. I get around the self-service to check out, and I put anyway. The wee bag just stands up. Now you get kind of floppy bags for life. They're going to flop all over the place. They only really stand up next to the till when you've got a few items inside them. It just stood the attention straight away. So that's quite good. And but then I realised I'd go to cereal. See, I have the muesli in the morning, but it's just so I'm not having chocolate and crisps, every day of the week. During the week, I'll maybe have like cereal at night, like a kind of kids cereal, a kind of full of numbers cereal, in no way healthy. And I'm into these. I'll just have that cup of decaf tea, plate of cereal with some milk in it. And it's I'm getting these Mighty Maltese. I think it's Morrison's own brand Mighty Maltese, like 95 pence for this big box. So I get them. But then I'm there in the basket with all my stuff. So I put the Mighty Maltese into the bag for life sideways. And that's it. That is half of the width of the bag and the full length, but half the width taken up. And I've got this cottage pie, which is like a kind of big wide tray type thing. And it's chilled, no frozen. So it's all going to run. If I put it in sideways and it's a 20-minute walk back to the house, but it's all going to be like a mush. And I know it still tastes the same, but the presentation's everything. And what's happening here? I don't panic. Let's see what we can do. So I guess like the 3 tins of soup I'd go, and I put them kind of side by side on the empty side of the bag, down the bottom of the bag, and I'd got the wee kind of stack, like a 4-pack of tins of tuna, and I put them there. They're standing up, and the other bit of space was these yogurts. They're full of sugar. These kind of yogurts I got. They're like 2 tiers. It's two rows of 2 on top of each other, and they've got the cardboard kind of casing thing. So I went them on top of the tins of soup. There was cheese triangles, stuff. I put them in, and before I knew it, I'd built up the other side of the bag so it was exactly level with the top, the sides, on its side of the cereal. So I had a platform there. I had a platform at the top towards the top end of the bag, and the cottage pie just sat on top of it absolutely perfectly. Loaf on top of that, bingo. Good to go. If you can't get that metaphor there, like the disaster, the panic at the start of the season, oh my God, it's not going to fit, it's no, and like the bag for life, it's for Diane, she's got its presents. She's got his new stuff. She's lets the 49ers bringing in gifts of money, and they've got, and it's new, that kind of thing. I mean, they're not exactly compact and bijou, the 49ers, but you got this, everything's going to just happen really neat, really swift, like it's standing on its own. It's a proper, but, and, I managed to get stuff so that Danny Röhl has just built us up and built us up. 3 points, a couple of draws, but maybe temporary panics along the way. Like when I got the segment, the kind of half a cucumber that I thought was going to get squashed somewhere, but I managed to fit it in between the tuna tins and the bottom soup that just sits in there quite nice. Wasn't doing any damage, wasn't getting damage, and I get to put the cottage pie, bang, slap right across. This whole segment of that whole part of the season has been bagged. It's done. It's compartmentalised. It's good to go. It's a base. We can put the cottage pie on it. We can enjoy ourselves. We can move forward knowing that everything's okay. I'm not trying to say it's in the bag. I'm not trying to say the season, the league's in the bag. I'm just saying that we're all kind of bagged up and we're ready to go. I'm not saying everything's in the bag. That would just be bananas. 72 pence for 5.